Meet Kemi and Azizi, two people who believed their love story deserved a Hollywood ending, even though their bank account was reading more like a Nollywood B-movie budget. Kemi worked as a customer service representative at a telecommunications company, while Azizi sold phone accessories at Computer Village. Together, they earned just enough to survive Lagos rent and still dream of a wedding that would make their neighbors jealous. For 8 months, they saved every naira like their lives depended on it. Kemi stopped buying new clothes and Azizi walked to work instead of taking buses. They ate rice and beans for dinner 5 days a week and told themselves it was practice for married life. But here's where their story gets interesting. They wanted a big wedding with at least 200 guests, but their budget could only feed 100 people comfortably. Most couples would either cut the guest list or serve smaller portions. But Kemi and Azizi, they decided to get creative in a way that would make Lagos wedding planners shake their heads in disbelief. If we invite everyone and feed only half properly, we save money and still look generous, Kemi explained to her sister. We just have to be smart about who gets what and how we handle any complaints. 2 months before the wedding, Kemi and Azizi sat in their small sitting room with notebooks, calculating like mathematics teachers preparing for WAEC exams. They had divided their guest list into 3 categories. Category A, the VIPs, close family, childhood friends, and anyone who had been genuinely supportive. These people would get full meals with meat, rice, and takeaway packs. Category B, the maybes, colleagues, distant relatives, and social friends. These people would get smaller portions, rice, and maybe a small piece of chicken. Category C, the crowd, neighbors, acquaintances, and plus ones they didn't really know. These people would get only drinks and small chops like puff puff and chin chin. But here's where their plan got truly diabolical. They wouldn't announce these categories. Instead, they would use table assignments to control who got what. The closer your table was to the couple's high table, the better your meal would be. However, Kemi was smarter than the average bride. She had prepared for potential complaints with a cover story that would make even the most suspicious guests believe them. When people complain, she explained to Azizi, we'll tell them it's a traditional gratitude ceremony where different tables represent different blessings, and everyone gets what they need according to their role in our lives. We'll make it sound spiritual and cultural. As the wedding day approached, Kemi's phone didn't stop buzzing. By the final count, they had confirmed 180 guests, way more than their original budget could handle, but somehow still within their complicated feeding strategy. The week before the wedding, they briefed the caterer, MC, best man, and chief bridesmaid about the cover story. Everyone had to be prepared to explain the traditional gratitude ceremony if guests became suspicious. Mama Basola, the caterer, was initially confused. You want me to serve different meals to different tables at the same event? It's not about different meals, Kemi corrected smoothly. It's about honoring our guests according to traditional gratitude levels. Tables closer to us received the blessing portion, while tables further back received the celebration portion. It's cultural. Saturday morning came with bright sunshine. The church service was beautiful. Heartfelt vows, tears of joy, and genuine celebration. The trouble started at the reception venue, decorated with gold and burgundy colors that looked expensive, but had been negotiated down to half price. As guests entered, ushers directed them to assigned tables based on the couple's secret categories. The VIP tables near the front were beautifully set with full place settings and flowers. The middle tables looked decent with basic settings, but the back tables looked almost empty, with just plastic cups and paper napkins. At first, nobody noticed the differences. Guests were busy taking photos, greeting friends, and enjoying the music while the couple made their grand entrance. When it was time to eat, ushers began serving tables in order. The VIP guests received steaming plates of jollof rice, fried rice, peppered goat meat, grilled chicken, and moi. Tables 6 to 10 received smaller portions, decent rice and one piece of chicken each, but no moi. Some guests noticed smaller portions but assumed the caterers were running out of food. But when ushers reached tables 11 to 15, instead of plates of rice, they brought small bowls of puff puff, chin chin, and bottles of soft drinks. At table 12, Uncle Fashola, a distant relative from Ibadan, looked around confused. "Excuse me," he called to an usher. Where is our rice? Is this just appetizers? The usher smiled mysteriously. Sir, please wait. The couple will explain everything soon. Word spread through the back tables faster than Lagos market gossip. Guests began comparing what they were served versus the front tables. Phone cameras came out documenting the disparity. Uncle Fashola stood up slowly, approaching the high table. Other guests from back tables followed. The MC tried to keep the music going, but guests sensed drama. Kemi, my daughter, Uncle Fashola's voice carried across the hall. I am confused. You invited me to your wedding feast, but you gave me biscuits. Did I offend you or your family? The hall went quiet. This was the moment Kemi had prepared for. She stood gracefully, took the microphone, and smiled like a professional speaker. Uncle Fashola, thank you for asking. Actually, we were about to explain this beautiful tradition to everyone. In our family's ancient Yoruba custom, we practice something called gratitude circle feeding. The hall murmured with interest. Even Uncle Fashola looked curious instead of angry. Kemi continued confidently. Each table represents a different circle of blessing in our lives. The closer tables represent our immediate family circle. They receive the foundation blessing meal. The middle tables represent our support circle. They get the growth blessing portion. And the back tables receive the joy blessing treats because they came to share pure joy with us. The lie was so elaborate and delivered so confidently that even family members who knew the truth started nodding. Azizi added, the puff puff and chin chin represent sweetness and abundance. They're considered the most blessed items because they symbolize the sweet beginning of our marriage. Uncle Fashola's frown transformed into a smile. Ah, I see. This is a beautiful tradition. So the puff puff is actually special? Very special, Uncle, Kemi replied. Those who receive the joy blessing treats are considered the luckiest because they carry the sweetest wishes for our marriage. The back table guests who had been feeling insulted suddenly felt honored. One woman declared, I am proud to carry the sweet blessings for this marriage. The hall erupted in applause. Guests who had been upset moments earlier were now taking selfies with their special blessing food. Even people who had started taking photos to complain were now posting about experiencing an authentic cultural wedding tradition. With the crisis averted, the wedding reception continued beautifully. Uncle Fashola became the unofficial spokesperson for the back tables, explaining to anyone who would listen how honored they were to carry these sweetest blessings. The couple's families were amazed by how smoothly Kemi had handled the situation. Azizi's best man whispered, Guy, your wife is a genius. She just turned a potential disaster into a cultural celebration. By the end of the reception, guests were leaving with smiles and stories about experiencing a unique cultural tradition. For the first few weeks, Kemi and Azizi felt like strategic geniuses. Their phones buzzed with congratulations, not just about their marriage, but about their beautiful cultural ceremony. WhatsApp groups were filled with positive comments. That tradition was so meaningful. The way they honored different relationships was beautiful. Wedding planners in Lagos started getting requests from couples who wanted to incorporate traditional gratitude feeding into their ceremonies. For 2 months, they lived like celebrities in their community. But lies have expiration dates. The trouble started when Mama Aduni, an elderly woman known for her vast knowledge of Yoruba traditions, attended a wedding where another couple tried to replicate Kemi and Azizi's gratitude circle feeding. Mama Aduni watched with growing confusion. After the event, she approached the bride's family. This feeding tradition, which village does it come from? In my 80 years, I have never seen or heard of it. Mama Aduni was not just any elderly woman. She was a retired professor of Yoruba studies from the University of Lagos, and she took cultural authenticity very seriously. Mama Aduni decided to investigate further. She contacted guests who had attended Kemi and Azizi's wedding, asking casual questions about the tradition. Her breakthrough came when she spoke with Uncle Fashola, who innocently mentioned how confused and upset he had been initially. But weren't you expecting the tradition? Mama Aduni asked carefully. What tradition? Uncle Fashola replied. I was angry because I thought they were discriminating against us. It was only when Kemi explained the cultural meaning that I understood. This confirmed her suspicions. She reached out to other cultural experts, and the consensus was clear. Gratitude circle feeding was not a real Yoruba tradition. She then published a detailed Facebook post titled, "The Dangers of Fake Traditions: How Young People Are Inventing Culture." Mama Aduni's post went viral faster than Lagos traffic forming. She had systematically debunked the tradition, explaining that no such practice existed in Yoruba culture. Within 24 hours, the wedding that had been praised for months was now being dissected online. People started putting together the pieces, the different table treatments, the convenient explanation only after complaints, and the fact that no one had ever heard of this tradition before. The second wave of social media attention was brutal. The same guests who had felt honored to carry sweet blessings now felt foolish for believing an obvious lie. Comments were harsh. "They fooled us completely. I can't believe I fell for that story. They treated us like second-class citizens and made us thank them for it." The most viral post came from a middle table guest. "I spent my salary on their gift and got half a chicken while telling myself I was receiving a growth blessing portion. The audacity!" The backlash was more severe than if they had simply been honest about their budget constraints. Guests felt doubly insulted, first by the unequal treatment, and second by being manipulated into feeling grateful for it. Family relationships were strained beyond repair. Uncle Fashola now refused to speak to them. "They made me look like a fool," he told family members. Kemi's workplace became uncomfortable as colleagues realized they had been in the lower blessing category. Azizi's business at Computer Village suffered even more, earning the nickname Fake Tradition Phone Shop, and his sales dropped by 60%. 8 months after the wedding, facing complete social isolation and business ruin, Azizi and Kemi decided to come clean. They posted a long confession on Facebook, admitting that gratitude circle feeding was invented to cover up their budget constraints. "We were young, foolish, and desperate to have a big wedding without the budget to match," and Kemi wrote. "We created this story to avoid embarrassment, but we ended up causing more harm than if we had just been honest from the beginning." Some people appreciated their honesty, but many felt it was too little, too late. The damage to their reputation and relationships had already been done. 2 years after the wedding, Kemi and Azizi were still dealing with the consequences. They had moved to a different part of Lagos to escape constant reminders of their social media infamy. Kemi changed jobs after workplace tension became unbearable. Azizi sold his shop and started working for someone else, since his business never recovered from the reputation damage. Their marriage survived, but they learned that building a life together meant more than just the wedding day. They had to rebuild trust with their community and with each other. 5 years later, when people ask about their wedding, they share a different story about how trying to appear successful while hiding your reality can cost you more than just being honest about your limitations. They learned that respect cannot be earned through deception and that genuine relationships are built on truth, not elaborate cover-ups. Their attempt to manipulate their guests' emotions had backfired because people value honesty over performance. Today, Kemi and Azizi have rebuilt some relationships through consistent, honest behavior over time. They attend smaller gatherings, contribute genuinely to their community, and never again try to be cleverer than they actually are. When young couples ask them for wedding advice, they always say, "Your guests would rather eat rice and beans with an honest couple than jollof rice with liars. Respect them enough to tell them the truth." Their wedding became a cautionary tale that spread beyond Lagos, reminding people that authentic celebration is always better than elaborate deception. The couple who had wanted everyone to remember their wedding got their wish, just not in the way they had hoped. In the end, they learned that the most expensive wedding mistake isn't overspending on decorations or food. It's underestimating the intelligence and dignity of the people you claim to love.